I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now, and today we are breaking down everything that was discussed by our head coach, Jim Harbaugh, while he was at the NFL League meetings today down in Arizona. It feels like Harbaugh spent a lot of time talking about the offensive side of the football. Makes sense being a former quarterback and all. And we're going to dive into all of the news and rumors that have kind of come up from what Harbaugh had to say at those league meetings. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss out on any of the content that we've got here with the Chargers, especially since we are getting very close to the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, I have some major takeaways, 5 of them, in fact, when it comes to today's show from everything that head coach Jim Harbaugh had to say. And the first one that really stood out to me was his relationship with his new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. Now, McDaniel is coming in from being the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, had a lot of success, obviously, with the Dolphins. Not enough, though, to make sure that he held on to his job in Miami. What does Harbaugh think about coaching with McDaniel? Well, he said that right now it is awesome with a capital A. And I love to hear that because Jim Harbaugh is someone that has a distinct style that he has ran and he has used as his offensive scheme since he's been a coach. It was very similar when he was in Stanford, very similar when he was in San Francisco, although deviated slightly because he had a very athletic quarterback in Colin Kaepernick. It was very similar at Michigan, and it has been very similar now that he is in with the Chargers. Does McDaniel differ from that scheme? I would make the argument he is actually more similar than he is different. He just has some more bells and whistles to how he wants to approach running the football and how he likes to throw the football. Harbaugh had this to say. We're taking this from Eric Williams, fantastic reporter on the NFL, his X account. It's really been doing a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and a lot of leaning into how he sees football. Harbaugh said, it's really brilliant. That was him describing everything with Mike McDaniel. This is a great positive for the LA Chargers because Harbaugh's old way, the scheme that he had been running for years, the offensive lack of ingenuity, the fact that the Chargers were very similar and yes, they wanted to run the football, but you knew when they were going to run versus when they were going to pass. It was great 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It was not the same as what it needs to be now. An offense that McDaniel is going to run will be very mirrored in the run and the pass schemes. And we're going to dive into more of that later and how it will help the impact of your quarterback, Justin Herbert. But it is important to know that McDaniel was brought in to be someone that completely revamped this Chargers offense for the better. When we look at last year, this was a middle-of-the-pack offense. Now, I understand that there were a lot of injury issues that the Chargers suffered through and they had to deal with. At the same time, this is an offense that even with all of these injuries should have been better than it was. So you brought in a new offensive mind, an offensive coordinator that can come in and fix this, and I think that McDaniel will do that. I think that Mike McDaniel is the perfect OC hire for this team. And he is going to fix the offense because teams are not going to be able to predict what is coming next. We just saw the Seattle Seahawks win a Super Bowl with Clint Kubiak. Now, I understand that Kubiak is not Mike McDaniel, but they run basically the exact same offense. In fact, I would make the argument that because McDaniel was there for more of the creation of the offense, McDaniel has more of a blueprint of how to have more success with this style of offense. He's shown that he can do it with lesser talent. Now he's going to be able to do it in LA with this Chargers offense that I think is only going to get better. And I love what he is doing and what position he is going to put this Chargers team in. Mike McDaniel will fix this Chargers offense. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me down below in the comment section. I might be a little bit ahead of my skis here, but I'll tell you right now, I think that we're going to be in a good spot. If you agree with me, make sure you hit that thumbs up button as well. Next, from head coach Jim Harbaugh, we learned that the right guard is already a position that has been filled when it comes to the starter. There were rumors that the Chargers might go into the NFL draft, and Harbaugh did say that that was still a possibility that they could go in and get an offensive lineman. But right now, Harbaugh has made it clear Cole Strange is going to be the starting guard more than likely. Now, Strange obviously spent some time with McDaniel in Miami, so he does know how to run this offense. And it is clear that McDaniel and the rest of the offensive staff, well, they seem to be pretty darn comfortable with everything that Cole Strange is doing and what he's got planned for this team. I'll tell you right now, this is a move that I don't necessarily love. This is a move that I think is a bit scary. When we look at the Chargers offensive line depth chart right now, this is a crew, this is a team that, best case scenario, has 3 legit starters. Rashawn, Slater, Joe Alt, 100%, they are starters. When I look at Tyler Biadasz, he's a starter. He is a very good player and will do good things at that center spot. I don't know that Cole Strange or Trevor Penning are starters for this team. But it seems very clear that the Chargers are not going to make moves, or they like the move that they have made with Cole Strange. And if they do go into the draft and take someone, that would be a player that would go and start over Trevor Penning. There was a fear that the Chargers would look at everything that they did last year and say, if we run it back, we'll be just fine. I think that fear is starting to be realized. When I look at Strange's last season, wasn't great. I understand that PFF isn't everyone's favorite source of news right now, but if you're grading out at the highest at a 57 in your run blocking and everything else is lower, that's not great, man. I understand that sacks happen, and sometimes you let your quarterback get hit. It should be a number that's a lot lower at guard because defensive tackles and nose guards are not good at rushing the passer. In my opinion, in a Mike McDaniel offense, the way that the run game is mirrored with the pass game, it should be one of the more difficult offenses to give up sacks. Yet at the same time, Strange gave up 21 pressures, gave up 2 sacks, and 3 QB hits. I don't love it. It's not a move that I think is particularly wise. Although you can make the argument that last year the Chargers put a lot of money in that right guard position and it didn't end up going their way. So maybe I'm the one who's a little bit out to lunch on this opinion. But right now, I don't know that I love Harbaugh saying that Cole Strange is going to be the starting right guard. If you think that I'm wrong, and even if you don't, maybe you just love the Chargers, hit that thumbs up button on today's video. Next, we're going to dive into some big injury news because you have 2 tackles that we just talked about that are coming off of seasons where they were cut short because of injury. Let's start with Rashawn Slater, another guy who lives down in Dallas. He is someone that this Chargers team needs to be at 100% health. He has been a fantastic addition to this team ever since he was drafted out of Northwestern. There was rumors that when he was drafted, he'd have to go into guard. He's done a great job of holding up at that tackle spot. Jim Harbaugh was asked about Slater, and here's what he had to say. He said that I saw him running. Looking out the window, saw that. That warmed my heart. That was good to see. So the fact that Slater, after coming off of a pretty significant lower body injury, is already out moving around, running, that's only going to be a good sign. When you tear your patella tendon, it is one of the more painful injuries that you are going to have to go through. And as a former offensive lineman, the minute that your knees start to go, that's a problem. But just because you have a knee injury doesn't mean that your knees are starting to go. It seems pretty clear that Rashawn Slater is in a great position to not only be back out on the field, but to be thriving once he gets back out on the field for the Chargers. Let's look at Joe Alt now, because he obviously had a very successful rookie campaign until, well, it was cut short because of his injuries as well. It does feel like Joe Alt is on the right track to be back out on the field. From everything that Harbaugh has been saying, it does seem like Alt is in a great position to make it to a lot of these offseason workouts and put himself in the best possible position to be playing. Remember, Joe Alt early on in his rookie season last year, he was one of the more impressive players on the field. And then the injuries started to pile up. Joe Alt is a player, or I should say in his rookie season, Joe Alt is a player that is going to continue to build forward with this team. And Joe Alt is a player that is only going to continue to get better. The way for him to get better, though, is to make sure that he stays on the field for this Chargers team. Because we've already seen Joe Alt be successful. But the minute that those injuries start to pile up is when he really starts to take a slight step back. Joe Alt is a player that this team wants to build around. And he has shown that he is going to continue to push forward. In his 2 years in the National Football League, when he has been at that tackle position, he has been someone that you can count on. And he's been one of the better tackles in the National Football League when he's played over the last 2 years. The question is will you be able to keep him out on the field? What was your one-word reaction to the Harbaugh press conference? Let me know down below in the comment section. Very interested to hear what your opinion was. Mine, and my word, is that this is promising. I think that the Harbaugh press conference was very positive because the more and more that you heard him talk, you just heard good things from Mike McDaniel. You heard good things about Rashawn Slater getting back from injury. You heard good things about Joe Alt getting back from injury, something that has plagued him over the last 2 years. You continue to hear good things about these players. Cole Strange, don't love it, but you're hearing good things. And the last piece that I want to talk about on today's show, and why I truly do believe that this is promising, is that the Chargers are finally addressing the protection of one Justin Herbert. Because when I look at QB1, he is someone that can be very successful in the long term on this team. And instead of the Chargers just investing in the offensive line, what they are doing is, while they are investing in the offensive line, they are creating and are going to use a scheme and a system that will best protect Herbert because other teams will not know what is coming at them. Here's what Harbaugh had to say on Mike McDaniel's offensive scheme. The way the run game, pass game, and play action are all tied together, it takes like a second. It's a second more that you can just see defensive linemen go, oh, now it's a pass, and transition into their move or their bolt or their pass rush. Going from run defense to pass defense. It's visible. How valuable is a second? Very valuable. This 1 second, it's not going to sound like a lot. It's not going to seem like a lot, but it is going to be something that keeps Justin Herbert protected. It is going to be something that allows QB1 to stand in the pocket for a second longer and deliver more strikes. Justin Herbert was the most hit quarterback or second most hit quarterback in the National Football League last year. It was pretty close between him and Ward. When I look at Justin Herbert and all that he was able to accomplish last season, I know that this is a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. He was a player that had just under 4,000 yards, could have very easily had over it if he played every single game. His completion percentage was high. While he threw more interceptions than you would like, he was being asked to be Superman. He was being asked to do more than he'd ever done before. And he had to, because if he didn't, this team wasn't going to be good enough. When we look at the last 4 seasons of Herbert's career, when he's been healthy, he's been in that conversation of being a top-end Tier 2, bottom-end Tier 1 quarterback in the National Football League. And when he is surrounded by an offense that does everything in his power to make sure that he stays as healthy as possible, when he is surrounded by an offensive line that is doing everything in their power to keep him upright, I think you are going to see him take steps forward. And it's hard to take steps forward from the position that he's in, which means he will be putting himself in a position where few others are. I think that he can be a great quarterback in the National Football League. I'm biased. I loved watching him at the University of Oregon. I love watching him with the Los Angeles Chargers. But I do believe, and I think a lot of others agree with me, that he has all the tools necessary to be a Tier 1 QB in the National Football League, to be a great quarterback in the National Football League. And the Chargers have gone all in to make sure that he has the opportunity to be that player. I'm very excited to see it. If you're excited to see that, also hit that thumbs up button. You love the Chargers. Hit that subscribe button as well. If you made it to the end of today's video and you're not subscribed, you are wrong. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, so make sure that you help us get there. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and bolt up.